So today I'm going to change the thermostat. I took my car for a tuning checkup the other day, and the tuner said, "Oh, I think your thermostat's stuck because the temperature's not changing." He said, "Is the temperature marking on the dial just under half?" And I said yes, and he said, "Just the thermostat's gone." So known issue on the Mk3. So I bought a Napa thermostat, £16 I think on eBay. I bought Napa stuff before. I used it for rod ends, and it was fine. So they do a long and a short nose version. You can, before you order, you can tell by looking at pictures on eBay. So you can look at pictures online, so you can see that this part is shorter, and obviously you'd have a different length hose going to it. So do check your thermostat. I'll show you where it is in a minute. So this is the thermostat, held on by 3 bolts. It's got an integral rubber seal. So that's your thermostat, nothing to write home about. So thermostat, you don't want to use normal water in your engine. You want to use deionized water. Really cheap. You can get it from any supermarket. You can get it from your car parts, any of those kind of places. It really isn't very much. I think I have to tell you the capacity in the video for this, but I believe 5 litres should be absolutely fine. Also want to put some antifreeze in there. You can buy it in concentrated or ready to use, so obviously have a look when you're buying it, because it's normally in quite small writing, and then follow the instructions on the back. So this is going to be a mix of antifreeze and deionized water when we bleed the system at the end. So let's go through the process. So the first process is we're going to need to bleed the coolant out of the car. I drove this car over to my friend's to do this. It's been probably about an hour sitting here. So this is pressurized, so be careful. Don't open this when the engine is hot, because you could get scolded. Not a good idea at all. When you open it, if you open it a tiny little bit, then it will let pressure out and still be latched underneath the metal, so it won't just fling off. If you just do it right to the opening, the pressure could take it right off. So just open it just a little bit. There, you can feel it coming up there. So there's no pressure there. It's still held, so it wouldn't fly off and hurt anyone. And then just take it a little bit further, like that, over the hump. There's a tiny little bit of pressure there, and that's off. So that's let the pressure out there. Then the next one is to drain the coolant out of the radiator. English car, it's on a passenger underside. So let's get under, and there's a Phillips screw plug that you need to undo there. So I'll just show you that one. So this is the front of the car. This is the passenger front wheel. And as you look under here, there is this gap here, and that is the screw plug that you need to undo. It's undoing. Put my fingers in there. There we go. So that's draining out the coolant. Once the coolant's drained out, you can put the plug back in. Don't want to forget to put the plug back in, because then you might refill it at the top and it'll just pour straight out. There is a rubber seal above this little plastic screw bit. Mine has stayed in that hole, so I'm going to put the rubber back in. I'm going to put the plastic piece back in. Rubber's still there. So the thermostat. So here's your throttle body with the hose going in. Obviously mine's a turbo, but you've got the standard hose that goes into the throttle body. The thermostat is actually underneath it. So directly underneath it, you see a big hose going into a plastic fitting that then is bolted into the engine block. So what you need to do is you need to be able to get to that. So the first thing to do is take off this intake hose. Mine's going to be fairly simple because I haven't got any of the purge valve wiring or anything like that. If you need any extra assistance with taking off the original hose, then I do have a video that in my videos that's about replacing that hose. So obviously it will show how to take it off. But basically I'm going to take this hose off, and then I'm going to look at taking the throttle body off, which has a few water jacket bits as well. So let's have a look at that. Got my intake hose off. Now it's the throttle body. Underneath the throttle body is this water pipe, so I want to get that off. these OEM clips just squeeze together, little metal clips. Pull the clip back to take the pressure off, and then your next trick is trying to get the hose off. Oh, yeah, it's coming. Right, so that's that hose off. There's a hose on the top here, but I don't know if I need to take that off. But let's do it anyway. Move that clip up. And sometimes the best thing to do with hoses is to grab them and turn them to break the seal that they've generated. Yeah, and then it comes straight off. So that's that. We've got a plug here which should come off. Yep, so the plugs come off there. We've then got bolts on the front here. They are an 8mm bolt. So let's undo those. Just softly, always worry about Mazda bolts. Yep. 4 of those. Right, and then spin those bolts out. So there is a seal here, so there we go, easy to come off. And then you've got that blue seal there. Obviously you don't want to damage that or lose it, you might want to replace it. I'm just going to clean mine up. And also I'm going to clean up the, there's a bit of coolant coming out here. I'm going to clean up the throttle body while I'm at it. So then under here, these 2 pipes going in here, they are your thermostat ones. So again, they've got the standard metal clamps on there. Need to relieve those. Just pinching them together and moving them back up the hose a bit. And then there's going to be some coolant here. Yeah, not too much. So that's one hose off, the bigger one. And then there's the smaller one on top of it. So we've got the 2 water hoses. Push that one out of the way a bit. Oh, there's some real crud in the throttle body. Right, okay, so we've got 3 bolts holding on that. So what we need to do is, the best thing to do is put a bit of grease inside the end of your socket to try and hold the bolt as you're extracting it so you don't lose it into the engine. So I'm just going to sort that out. So I've got an extension with a wibbly wobbly. I'm going to dunk my extension into some grease. Let's get that out of the way. Let's see if we can get to one of the harder bolts first. So there's 2 at the top, 1 at the bottom. Right, I'm on the top back one. Unless it just snapped. Right, grabbed it with my finger, so it's about that long. Like, is that long? Right, let's dunk some more grease in here, shall we? See if we can actually catch this one. Right, going for the other difficult one, which is the bottom rear. Okay, second bolt. And then there's one more on the top front. And then that one as well. So 3 bolts out. Then really you should just be able to wiggle it and it'll come off. Let's see. Ooh, bit more water. Expected, I guess. And then that, oh, a bit more water. Mind your ECU. So yeah, there we go. And then obviously a good idea to check that you've got the right one. Looking good, got the right length. So mine's the longer version. All looking good. I've cleaned off around the thermostat block area. Now time to put the new thermostat in. Like I said, it's got this gasket. Make sure it's in properly. Looks like it. See, that wasn't. Pop it in well into its recess. You've then got to the torque for these, and I'm really worried about snapping these off. The torque for these is 7 pound-foot or 10 Newton meters. So really not a lot. My torque wrench, that's the lowest setting it's got. So yeah, place this thermostat in the right place. So that, so it's got the no bolt at the front here. Slides in, get your first bolt. Do the front one because it's the easiest one to get to. Do it by hand to start. Then what I'm going to do is put a bit more grease on in here to hold the bolt, and then hopefully the bolt will stick. I'm going to thread that in. Okay, so we've got a third one to put in. I'm going to put a bit more grease in there because obviously it disappears. Third bolt. This is the really blind one. This is the top back. Okay, so we're there at the point where I want to use the torque wrench. So like I said, it's only 7 pound-foot, pretty tiny. Just clipped out on that one. There we go. So it really isn't much force on that at all. So if you're doing it without a torque wrench, really don't push it because you'll probably end up snapping it. So that's great. So that's the thermostat in. So then you've got the 2 pipes that you took off to reconnect. So the smaller top one, I've tucked behind things to get out of the way. Now it needs to come back into play. Slides on nice and easy. And then you've got to push the clip forward. Try and push the clip forward. Yep, that's the top one on. That's great. And get your bigger one. And it easily pushes up to that stop. And then again the same. Got to So I've cleaned up the throttle body with some brake cleaner and a scrubbing brush. So I've cleaned all the way through there. I opened it up and I cleaned where it sits all through there, so that's all good. I've cleaned up the gasket and put it back into the throttle body intake. Then obviously we've got these longer screws to put it back together. It's again 7 pounds-foot and 10 Newton meters torque wrench setting with the bolts that hold the throttle body. Okay, so 7 pounds-foot. Yep. 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 Really isn't much at all. It's literally as it starts nipping. There we go. So they're all done. You've got 2 pipes to put back on for the water hoses. So slide the bottom one back on, and then got to get the little clip. Little clips that I love so much. Yeah, bottom one's done. And then we've got the top one. Where's that hiding? There it is. Push the top one on. Again. Grab the little clip, wiggle it down. That is on. So throttle body's on. You've got the clip there for the electronics. That's firmly clicked in there. Both pipes are on. All 4 bolts are done up. Then your intake pipe needs to go back on. So obviously the reversal of whatever intake pipe you've got. Nice and tight because mine's boosted. And then I've got to do that one up. And that is the actual thermostat changed. And obviously we then need to bleed the system. So now that we've got the radiator plug or drain plug plugged back up, we've got your new thermostat in and everything, it's time to put some fluids in. I'll put up how much fluid this takes, but to start I'm just going to put a little bit of deionized water in, and then I'm going to put the whole bottle antifreeze. So you know the antifreeze bit's done. So I've got what you want to do, what you need to do for bleeding a system is you need to get the water level higher than the engine. So basically, bought one of these, I think it was off Amazon a while ago. I think they're like £15–20. I've always struggled without one. I finally said, "All right, I'm going to buy one." So I bought one. It's quite good. You get all the different adapters to go onto different head tanks, and then yeah. So basically, you can fill this up. So it's already taking some in, pushing the air out. And then when you get the engine started to try and get it all bled, then obviously the air will come out, and then when the thermostat opens and it goes to suck more water in to fill the engine, then you can keep topping it up, and you can not let it get too low. It's always good to check under the car to see if anything's leaking straight out. It's not, so that's great. Getting quite low on the 5 litres, and I thought it took about 5 litres, so interesting. I have done this once before when I did the turbo build, and it did take 25 minutes to 30 minutes to actually start getting hot air into the fan inside. So we'll see how this goes. That is 5 litres done. So luckily I do have another 2.5 litres. It maybe doesn't, hopefully on the footage you could see at one point it did go down, and it was bubbling, and I had the blowers inside on max heat blowing out, and it was cold, and then when that started to go down to about here, the heater turned hot, and it's still hot, and I think it's opened now. It must have done to get through the whole heater matrix and everything like that. So the good thing about this, you think, oh my god, I've got all this fluid. The good thing is you get this little plug, so you plug it at the bottom, and then you're able, because it won't come out, you're able to take it off, and then I can put that back in here or back into a different container, so that's great. There's a bit of spillage there, but not bad. And what I'll do is I'll just keep an eye on that expansion tank level for the next few drives, and that should be good. Keep a little bit of water with me in case it does drop, and yeah, so there you go. Put the normal cap back on. That's your thermostat changed, all new coolant put through, and all sorted.